Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Part 3 with Chad Frost is sure to be one heck of a finale. Bubba and Chad finally get into what is up. No one else tackles such hard-hitting topics like window tint. Hey, it's Bubba's show. I mean, the dude writes this stuff. I'm just the guy with the incredible voice. Right, guys? Anyone? In all seriousness, they do get into important stuff like voting for something rather than against someone. They also go deep into parenting philosophy and the divisive yet critical issue of abortion. To wrap it all up, Chad tells his side of the whole high school wrestling issue that had everyone in town talking. Hopefully this helps everyone move forward in a positive direction. Here's your host, Bubba Seaman.
Growing up in small towns, I know, don't believe everything you hear, ever.
Right. And I'm just like, you don't even know the whole story.
Right.
I think this hurt the school and hurt the community more than it helped.
Okay.
And some of that was our doing. Best thing that could happen is that I was wrong.
It doesn't matter if I would have given 100% of my support to Crawl and you for the other guy. It doesn't mean we couldn't sit here and you couldn't tell me why you wanted that guy.
That's right.
Make no mistake, God loves kids. But whoever causes one of these little ones that believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a heavy millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea.
Abortion is not birth control.
Right. All right. Welcome back for part 3 with Chad Frost. If you've hung with us this whole time, that means you heard Chad's story growing up and his life story, and then you heard all those good segments we got into, which I just got to learn to be more quiet. Maybe we could keep those under an hour and 20 minutes. But man, those were good. That's all good stuff. But now we're getting into what you've all been waiting for, the What Is Up segment. I mean, this is why I started the podcast, to get people who maybe are like me and they've looked around in the last few years and just saw this or that going on and thought, what is up with that? You know, it's not just having a guest in my basement. I don't need to talk to people that much. I just don't need that. I want people to look around and ask, hey, what is up with that? You know, and then I also want to point them in the right direction for answers, which is up. So we're going to get into all Chad's topics that he picked to talk about, that he thinks, you know, he wants to talk about what is up with. And we're going to start a little lighthearted here with people tinting their windshields or driving with their headlights off. We're going to take a couple lighter ones. What's up with that?
Exactly. I don't know. You know, being a UPS driver, I see the bad of, it's crazy what people do on the road. But one of the things I always wondered about is, you know, I see more and more vehicles. Okay. So I've been busted before or been pulled over and ticketed for tinted windows, you know, on the front windows. Okay.
Yeah.
And, way back in, I can't remember, early 2000s, I had a car and I tinted the windows, and I don't know how many tickets I got before they finally like, hey, you got to take them off.
Take it off.
So now I got this workmobile that's a piece of junk, and it's got tinted windows because it's from Texas.
Okay.
And I got I got one ticket from it. I haven't taken it off yet, but I haven't drove the vehicle since. And I'm looking around, I'm like, there's all these vehicles, a ton of them, that have tinted windows on them. State law says the front windows have to allow, I think, 75% of the light through. Yeah. And there's no exception. Everyone says, oh, if I got medical thing. No, there's no exception to it. And then the windshield has to allow 80% through, except for the first 6 inches.
Yeah, the top.
They can allow 0. But there's people, they have like a 30% tint on their windshield. I'm like, how are you driving at night?
How can you see?
Or they got the tinted over their headlights, so they got a tinted windshield, tinted windows, and then tint over their headlights and driving down the road. I'm like, you're going to kill someone, you know, and unfortunately, I'm on the road, and I don't want it to be me.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to hit you. So it just drives me crazy of all that. And then, you know, a lot of it's because the police aren't allowed to be able to do what they need to do, and you know, someone's always recording, so even though they're like, hey, you know, well, you just pulled me over because color of my skin. No, dude, you broke the law because your windows are tinted.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Doesn't matter what color you are.
Yep.
All right? There's more white people that have tinted windows than there are black people or Mexicans or whatever else. But from what I've seen, it's just, it's like, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Why do you want to do that?
Well, and that's the dilemma is different states have different laws. Iowa's that state that says nothing on the front, the driver and you can have black on all the rear windows. You can have black limo tint. But Texas, Louisiana, them southern states, they say you can have whatever you want. You can have limo tint on those windows. And it doesn't. And I think there used to be a medical exemption back in the day. I think my grandpa had
it. Was like 97.
Yeah,
I think
it's gone. It's gone. There's no excuses. If you have it. So like my car, not to give myself away, but if you talk to if you have it done professionally, they'll put a super light tint on your side windows. As long as the police can clearly see in, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good. They're not going to pull you over because they think maybe it's a shade darker than factory. Just don't put black stuff. Make it so they can see, dude. Especially nowadays with cops coming up behind cars, not knowing what's going to go down.
Right.
I almost went into law enforcement. Like, I want to be able to see.
Yep.
Especially now. And that was, that was late 90s. It was a different time back then. You felt a lot more safe back then. But
yeah, and then the other thing is too, you ever heard the phrase that if you make something idiot proof, you just breed more idiots? Well, that's
make something idiot proof.
You breed more idiots.
Breed more idiots.
Good example is the auto headlights.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then what happens is this is how the vehicles work. So some people will actually put their headlights off and they don't leave it on auto.
Okay.
So then what happens is when it gets dark out, they're driving down the road. They think they have headlights on because their dash is lit up.
No.
And they don't. It's like, hey, I still, when it starts getting dusk or snowing or fog or rain, I manually put my headlights on.
Yeah.
That's what I always, because it wasn't auto headlights when I started driving, right?
Right. Yeah.
And, but people all the time, you would not believe it. I don't think people actually, every single day, I see people, I would say probably at least 4 or 5 cars driving down the road, it's dark, no headlights on.
Are you talking morning or evening?
Most of the time it's in the evening.
Yeah.
They don't have the headlights on. I see it all the time. I'm driving down the road, I'm like, usually I'm heading back to the center near the end of my day.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Especially if the auto capability is there. Just leave it on auto then.
Well, if you're an idiot, though, you won't. You'll have it off.
You're going to turn your auto
Again,
off.
If you make something, because they're trying to make it idiot proof.
Yeah.
So you don't have to manually turn it on. So they make it idiot proof. Just have it on auto.
Yeah.
But if for some reason it's not on auto, it's not going to turn on.
No, you have to do it.
You actually do it.
Yeah.
And they don't. And it drives me crazy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I guess it's kind of a pet peeve, but at the same time, I look at it as my safety because I'm on the road so much.
Well, yeah.
And I'm looking at the safety of my kids or that person even that's driving the vehicle. If I may not see you and I'm in this big truck, I'm going to run you over.
Yeah.
So who's going to win that?
Yep. You're going to win that. They're not.
So,
yeah. I'm at the point now where I don't want anything newer than like a late like Bridget's car is a 2009. I don't want a car with electric power steering. I think that's the worst idea ever. Leave it the way it was. Hydraulic fluid, a pump, a belt.
Yep.
Just leave it. You do not need to make it electrical. All this other stuff. Like the older the better.
Yeah.
It's just easier to work on. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad. My buddy that listens to this from high school, John Westergreen, I had a guy on who bought a vehicle from Dick Withams. And the guy I told you I buy ribs from, Cookie, he did that deal where like you buy 2 vehicles, you get a better deal kind of thing. And one of them, oil was pumping into coolant was mixing with the oil. And so it was an engine block issue. And like they wouldn't take it back. They wouldn't do anything for him or whatever. And so I let him vent in that chair you're sitting in, And so my buddy John Westergreen heard that and he goes, "Hey, on your podcast, I heard you said you wanted a sticker that says vehicles suck." And so he sent me a sticker that says vehicles suck because they do. They suck. They do. But all right, let's go to the next one. You said you want to talk a little bit about what's up with people's different parenting philosophies. Sometimes there's different.
Yeah, and well, I kind of hit on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
and,
we did.
It was just when you go to do anything, what's your goal for the outcome?
Yeah.
Whether it's just going to work that day or whatever. But if you're raising kids, like so Amy and I didn't get into this earlier, but so Jonah's 17. We've been married almost 25 years. So we had a time frame there where it was just us.
No kids.
And it was because we couldn't have kids. We don't know why. We had to do in vitro twice.
Okay.
And that's how we got Jonah. And then Landon and Cooper, no problem. It was just like, I don't know, your system needed to be primed or something. I don't know. I don't know. But
That's
anyway,
the medical term, folks.
That's what I'm going with anyway. But, we talked about when we have kids, how are we going to parent them? What's our goal? And what are the stages? Like we said, we're done raising kids because our kids are raised. They're kids.
Yeah.
Now we're raising men is what we're doing.
Yep.
And, how does that change? And I'm sure you've heard this guy. I don't remember his name at all, but he said one of the things. He goes, boys need their mother when they're babies.
Yeah.
They need to be cared for and protected and loved. And that's what mothers do.
Sure. Yeah.
And then as they get older, now they need to learn how to be tough. They need to learn how to fight and have some courage. And I'm not saying like hand to hand.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And that's the father's job.
Okay.
That's what the father needs to do. And he goes, but the problem is that there aren't fathers. It's just the mothers. And the mothers are continue to care and protect and love the boy, even though he's a man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how to be a man.
Yeah.
Because ladies, you do a great job being
the
a
nurturer.
mom.
Yeah.
That's who you are. That's in your DNA. That's why you were created.
Yep.
And when you don't have the man there to do his job, and just think about it. Sarah probably played with your kids differently than what you did.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. When the boys got older, man, I was throwing them around. And so they knew what rough housing was.
Yeah.
And that helps them teach limits.
Yep.
So that way they know when they're rough housing with their friends, there's a limit.
Yeah.
You go too far. And then kids that don't have that, that's why you see some of these situations where you see a 12-year-old killing an 11-year-old. I don't know if they playing. No, they just don't know the limitations.
Yeah.
And that stuff happens. And so my biggest thing is like with these different philosophies. Everyone has,
Yep.
my brother's been married twice, and his first wife definitely has a different philosophy raising kids compared to his current wife.
Okay.
But it doesn't make them bad people.
No.
It's obviously, though, there's different philosophies that he has compared to his different wives. My wife and I, she was raised in Southern California. I'm raised in Iowa. Obviously, we were raised a little bit different. So we had to make sure that we were together on how we're going to raise our children, and then how we were going to raise these men.
Sure.
And but that's our goal, And my boys, like when we were in church on Christmas Eve, it was Cooper, then Amy, then Landon, Jonah, then me. And we were going up to communion. Cooper let his mother go first in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
He was taught that.
Yeah.
And he will always do that. All three of my boys will always do that for any woman that they have in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a sign of respect.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what you do.
Yeah.
My boys also have learned from me why I hold a door open.
Absolutely.
I'm going somewhere, I hold a door open. And one time I had a lady, she was gone, she goes, I'm perfectly capable of holding my own door. I go, I know you are, but I'm doing it for you.
Yeah. And
she goes, why? I'm like, because I respect you.
Yeah.
And she just kind of looked at me. I go, let men respect you.
Yeah. Let men be men.
Let us be, that's what we do. And, but having that, there's more of that, I think, happening, but it's a focus. It's tough to do because a lot of dads today, they didn't have a dad in the house.
Yeah.
Or, they didn't have a dad in the house. They might have gone, they had a dad, but when they were with their dad, there wasn't a mom there. And when they were with their mom, the dad wasn't there because they're divorced.
Broken home. Yeah.
And, again, doesn't make them bad people, but that's what's so important about having those two family, or the two
family
parents.
Structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, the government tried really hard to break this up and make it go away. and it did start in 2008 is when it started, and it's continued through, and then we had a little bit of a pause, and now it's back at it again of just trying to get the dad out of the house. And I appreciate those dads, whoever the situation was. For some reason, they're no longer in the home, but they're fighting for the kids.
Oh yeah,
all the time. I got a friend down in Des Moines. He fought for his daughter right and left, and I believe he has custody for her. I think she's 15 or 16 now, but he fought every day, all the time, going to court, whatever it took to be in that child's life, because he knew it was important. And moms do the same thing. Like I said, I'm not saying anything against moms, but it's mother and father that's supposed to be in the home, raise the children to be adults and contribute to society.
Absolutely.
You have to contribute to society.
Yeah.
And however you do it, I guess I'm not going to judge. I'm not a perfect parent by any means.
Right.
There's a lot of failures that Amy and I have had and continue to have with the boys, but we believe that we got them on the right journey. And hopefully we can continue that, and I hope other parents do that too.
Yeah, that's a big conversation to have when you start talking about, the welfare system. We need to help. The Bible says help the widows and orphans, but to the point where it's like financially advantageous for a mom to stay single. You know what I mean? And to me, not to get into all this stuff, people don't want to hear me rant and rave about it, but that was the first sign that I knew BLM, the organization, was garbage. Is I went straight to their website, started, because the cause is great. Absolutely, we shouldn't have black people unjustly brutalized by law enforcement or anything. They're just like, there's no different. To me, there's one race.
Right.
But they wanted to deconstruct the Western nuclear prescribed family, and I thought, what the hell does that mean?
Right.
What are you doing? You're supposed to be sticking up for black civil rights. What does this have to do with anything?
Right.
And then you start following this stuff back, and it all goes back and back and back to like Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud and all these God-hating people who want to basically destroy American civilization and Christianity and the nuclear family. And I'm just like, whew, this is deep. This is deep stuff, people, and it's in academia, it's in our university, it's all. We've got to start watching out for this stuff. The family, it's huge. So your next thing was 2-parent versus single-parent home. So we're kind of hitting on that now. Is just that you see, whether we do it perfectly or not, we're both admitting we don't have perfect households, and I tell my kids that all the time. Pick whoever you want in your class that you think just has it all together. Trust me. Go live in their house for you'll see stuff happen.
They don't.
No, they don't. It looks like it at school. It looks like because you're a teenager.
Yep.
Grow up a little bit and you'll see. Nope, they had issues in that house too. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
But when you put the studies and the statistics together of 2-parent versus single parent, overwhelmingly it's, even if you're not doing the best job, it's best to have mom and dad there. Single parent homes, I've mentioned it 100 times, just skyrocket rates of, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, high school dropouts, incarceration, gang violence, just all these different things because mom and dad weren't there together.
Well, just think about it. When you were a teenager, or I was a teenager, I know what I did when I had both my parents at home watching me. So can you imagine if there's only one there and the other one's working 2 jobs and I never see them? What kind of trouble I've gotten into? I've been out of control.
Yep, it would have been bad, real bad. So, yeah, we did some stuff. That's a whole nother episode. That was bad, bad. But all right, let's move on. The next one, you said you want to talk about the election cycle. Now that could mean a few different things. What do you mean? What is up with the election cycle?
I guess it kind of probably goes in the same thing with why I think Trump has to win this election. Okay. Kind of this election cycle, I guess is what I mean.
Okay.
So they're kind of one and the same here. So one of the reasons, and then stuff came out and happened since I said I wanted to talk about this, that just kind of even proves the point of why Trump needs to win, is, what happened in Colorado and what happened in Maine of removing Trump from the ballot.
From the primary ballot.
I don't care if it was Trump or if it's Obama, when he was right. It doesn't matter. You are not an elected official. Why are you getting to choose who we can elect for?
Sure, yeah.
That's our job. And this is a real opportunity for we the people to show the government of saying, I don't care. Remove them from the ballot because we're just going to write them in.
Write them in.
And that's exactly what we need to do as Americans. This is an opportunity, this next election cycle, to really show because the government's they think we're dumb.
Yeah.
Okay? They think the entire American population, we're all a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, one of them used a certain word.
Yeah.
Deplorable.
Right. And so they're just going to do what they want to do. Yeah. Why do you think Trump got elected the first time? It's because of the same thing. Okay? Everyone was like, this is our opportunity to elect someone that's not a politician.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is so many people feared him that he wasn't able to get as much done as he could have. And now everyone's understanding, especially on the Republican side. And I hate using Republican or Democrat because I feel that you're either conservative or you're not.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between being a conservative and being a Republican.
Yeah.
Because as I've heard from other people say, most Republicans are actually Democrats, and most Democrats are Democrats. Okay? So that's why I say I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative. Yeah. Okay?
That's why I say I'm a Christian. That's how I'm voting, because to me, the moral issues are number one. Absolutely. Everything else is secondary.
Right. And so, the reason why Trump needs to is look at what Biden has done to our country. Look where we're at right now. Look at everything that's going on. It's in the news every day. And here's the other thing. I'm going to encourage people, don't just watch Fox or CNN or MSNBC or whatever. Listen to these independent podcasts.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are telling the truth.
Yeah.
And having facts. And they'll give you the facts so you can go look it up yourself. And I don't really care who it is, but people need to educate themselves on this, because I'm telling you, if it's not Trump that wins, we're going to see more illegal immigration. We're going to see more wars. China will take over Taiwan. China's going to start working toward the West. There's a reason why all of this started about way back, actually, when Bill Clinton was president, because the Clintons were receiving money from China when Bill was in presidency. Well, what screwed up the plan was George Bush winning and beating Al Gore.
Yeah.
That's what screwed that up. Because Al Gore, what was he preaching? Climate change.
Yeah.
So that slowed him down, because George Bush won 2 terms.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to.
Nope.
So as soon as they got Barack in there, man, it was time to crank it back up, because we got ground to make up. And the whole point is that if no one knows about the World Economic Forum, they need to.
Yeah, start looking into that.
You have to educate on what they're doing. They want one class of people to run the world. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. No. It's a fact.
Yeah.
They said it.
Yep.
Right? They flat out say it.
Yeah, there's videos out there. You can watch what they say.
Right. And the only way that can ever happen is you have to take down the United States. And the reason being is because it's supposed to be 330 million people running the country, not 535 idiots. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why you saw the money in elections changed when Obama was president. You saw that. You saw all these billions of dollars that went to Iran, and why there was this Iran uranium deal and all this other stuff is because it was the beginning process of taking down our country. And so they were doing this, but at the same time, they were changing the education system and what they're teaching in school and things. And Fairbank, Wapsie Valley, we're not any different.
Yeah.
Just because we're small doesn't mean we're any different. Have you listened to your kids about what some of the teachers are saying? There's not all the teachers, but there's some out there. Okay.
Yep.
That are trying to get your kids to think differently. That America sucks. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, America does not suck.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we must suck real bad for everyone who's not here to want to come
everyone wants
here.
to be here, right? We're so bad.
Yeah.
And the thing is Trump he doesn't have to worry about re-election. Like Ron DeSantis, I love Ron DeSantis. I think he'd be a great president. Problem is, we're only going to get 2 years, a good 2.5 years of him, because then he's going to start worrying about re-election.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's crap. That's not what we need right now. We need someone to come in with a big hammer, right?
Yeah.
That says, I don't care. And this is what's important for the country. It's not about me. Trump lost $1.1 billion being president.
Yeah.
All the other presidents have made hundreds of millions of dollars being president. So what's that? That he cares about the country. That's the only reason he ran. It's because he cared. He saw it. He saw everything he has said has happened.
Yeah.
Everything he has said has happened. And whether you like him or not, if people would just go listen, and it kind of hit my next thing about voting is voting for something. Last time, everyone voted against Trump.
Yep.
Nobody voted for Biden. Nobody did. They all voted.
They voted a guy out rather than voting a guy in.
Instead of voting a guy in, and it's because they didn't like him. So, I didn't say I like Trump either.
Right.
I see he's a narcissist. There's no doubt about it. But you know what? His heart's in the right place. He wants the country to be better. He wants you as a citizen to be better.
Yeah.
And, stop relying on anything and just let the government be very simple. I mean, the bureaucrats that run everything, like, what are you talking about bureaucrats? Well, look at all these EPA rules that come out. Congress didn't vote on that. The bureaucrats in the energy department did.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff. It's like our Congress, who we elect, are supposed to be putting these things in effect.
Yeah.
Not these other people that just have a power trip or getting paid by so-and-so or whatever. Yeah. And the reason why Trump needs to get in there, because that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go in there. He's going to get rid of all these departments, all these bureaucrats, because they did him dirty in his last presidency. Yeah. He was supposed to rely on them. They were supposed to be the professionals, because he didn't know. So he had he learned a lot. He learned who he can trust, who he can't trust, and how politics actually works. And I think this time he can come in, really clean house. Okay. We're not going to be where we need to be, but at least set it up for the next person who, I don't know, maybe that will be Ron DeSantis then. Maybe Vivek will be ready then, or maybe someone else will show up out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the senator's name? South Carolina.
Burgum?
That was running from South Carolina. Senator Tim Scott.
Tim Scott. Oh yeah.
I really like Tim Scott.
Yep.
I really do. But the environment's he's not fit for what the environment we're in right now. We need a fighter.
Yeah.
A warrior. And I think Trump's that warrior.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my take on some of that stuff is obviously, yes, people think about where you're getting your news from. Do not just take it from one source. Look at who owns the media company that you're consuming. I get into a lot of stuff. I try and follow back a lot of people who have been influential in different areas of our country. And when you follow this stuff back, like I was sharing with you before we got back on, a lot of this stuff does go back to people who hated God and were openly adamant about a plan to remove God from society. And so, yes, I'm talking Karl Marx. I'm talking Sigmund Freud. I'm talking about Engels. I'm talking about John Dewey. I'm talking about all kinds of people that have influenced lots of different areas of our country, just because, if these people influenced education, if they influenced the media, if they influence these things, I want to know what they stand for, what they believe. And a lot of that stuff, just like BLM, it's remove God. You don't need God. You don't need his set of standards. We can do our own. And that's kind of the progressive way of thinking, is we can get to a state of utopia without God. We can do it ourselves. The Bible has kind of already warned us about that. Like, you're going to serve somebody. You're going to serve God, or you're going to serve yourself. And when you serve yourself, you're serving Satan. You're doing exactly what he wants. So, just so you know where I'm coming from, guys, Trump was not my first pick when he first started running. Like you said, Tim Scott, a great guy, but he's just not who we need. I love Ben Carson. And then my number two was Ted Cruz. Trump, I thought, had no chance.
Right.
The rough guys, that I worked with, they're like, oh, Trump's going to wreck stuff. And I'm like, dude, Trump doesn't stand a chance. He's not a politician. He's not going to get. I was like, Ben Carson, this dude's the real deal. He's a Christian. He's, probably the most gifted neurosurgeon we've ever seen. This guy's got high moral integrity. And then I had a buddy that works at Deere's. He said, Ben Carson would have been the right guy, but Obama ruined it for him. Like, Obama was our first African-American president. Like, if he hadn't come along, the world probably would have fell in love with Ben Carson because there was nothing not to like about this guy.
Yep.
He grew up in low income. He was the perfect, what did Trump appoint him as? Housing and Urban Development Secretary? HUD or something. Perfect guy for that because he grew up in that.
Yep.
And he worked his way out of that. And he's just, read some of his books about his life. He's a great guy.
Yep.
So when it came down to, okay, Trump's the guy on this side of the aisle, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm with most people. I don't like the crashness. I don't like the, the mean tweets and all that stuff. Like, yeah, there's a better way to handle yourself. Yeah, you could probably respect the office a little more, this and that. But having now, we've seen 4 years of what he did. It's hard for me to find some policy that I disagree with. It really is. Like, a lot of his stuff I agree with. And I think you have to, for most people, I think it'd be beneficial for us to not so much look at the personality, but just look at the policy. That's what you're voting. Whenever you're voting for even our city council, our school board, our whatever, vote for what they say their policy, what they stand for. That's why I say, like, Nikki Haley, she's probably got the most foreign policy experience, but she's come out and said some other stuff about abortion and things. I'm like, you just can't get my vote, even though you're probably foreign policy wise the most experienced of the bunch. And then, some people that I really respect. So to end that statement, just vote on policy, not personality.
Right.
Vote on policy, not personality.
Absolutely.
A pastor that I follow, Pastor Jeffress, I think he is First Baptist in Houston or Dallas or somewhere like that. He said, it doesn't matter who, this is after the last election, he said, it doesn't matter who is the president. He goes, we're going to praise them when they get it right, and we'll call them out when they get it wrong. It doesn't matter if your guy won or lost. It doesn't matter. Right. Compliment them when they get it right. Support them when they get it right. When they get it wrong, go ahead, throw your shade. Tell them they work for us. They should hear that. And like I was telling you before we got online, I don't know if I've shared this with the audience before or not. I listen to American Family Radio. That's 88.9. FM. They've got an app. You can find their stuff all the time. They got a lot, they're out of Tupelo, Mississippi. So a lot of country white folk, black people, make up this radio station. They do a lot of ministry work. This one guy grew up in New Orleans, so I'm kind of prone to him. Abraham Hamilton III grew up in the projects in New Orleans, half an hour away from where I grew up. And the guy's just top-notch guy now, family guy, Christian guy, and he comes on his radio show every day and he says, he just reminds you that what's going on in the White House is not as important as what's going on in your house. So as we start talking about parenting and things like that, that stuff resonates with me. And the other thing he says is, he goes, most of you guys are on your way home from your part-time job, going to your full-time job. He goes, your part-time job is where you work, where you generate an income. Your full-time job is being a parent, being a spouse. That's more important. You don't need to get consumed by this stuff. But like Chad said, educate yourselves a little bit. Some of this stuff, when I look at Karl Marx and different things like that, like their plan to remove God is very simple. Just start reading some of this secular humanist, this communist manifesto. Educate yourself just a little bit and see if this doesn't sound like America. What they would like to do to remove God from society is control the media, control academia, and control entertainment.
Yep.
Do you see a Christian conservative majority in any of those areas? Not a one. Not a one. We have, in entertainment, we now have a whole Christian section that's trying to put out good, moral, fabric stuff, but it's apart from Hollywood. And then when you look at the media, guys, just do a quick Google search. Find out all your news stations are owned by more one-sided groups that promote one side of, politics and agenda and policy. Very little is actually owned by people who think differently. So of course you're going to get, very similar content. That's why I told Chad, I do like Fox, more than anything else for the most part, because they at least employ people who dissent with the Republican narrative or conservative viewpoints. They actually have paid people on staff. Watch The Five. It's a great show. So yeah, just think about some of that stuff. When you follow it back, they really want to have control in those areas, and I think they do. I have kids in college. I I think they do. I think they have control of that. I think we're kind of seeing that stuff play out in the last few years. I know they definitely have control of the media. I know they definitely have major influence over Hollywood. So what is up with that? Like, are we moving as a country? Are we moving closer to God like we were when we were founded? And we had issues then. I'm not trying to say we didn't. We definitely did. Right. But like the satanic display at the Iowa Capitol over Christmas, do you really think that's what the founding fathers were envisioning when they wanted like a First Amendment freedom of speech type thing? No, I bet you they wouldn't have approved that. They probably didn't want that. That's not good. But in this crazy world we're getting in, this tolerant world we're living in, like, yeah, it's crazy. So just educate yourself a little bit. Take some of Chad's advice, don't get your feelings hurt as much. I get my feelings hurt easier than anybody in the world. But I also understand we can have a difference of opinion. So just do a little bit of education, get some news from somewhere else, learn both sides of the issue. Debating ideas is never wrong. That's always a good thing. Yeah. So if someone doesn't want to do that, that's a red flag, right?
Right. And people just go there and you go to the ballot box and you're like, what am I voting for? Yeah. It's not who, it's what. Yeah. What am I voting for? And if you have 3 or 4 things that you want it to be a certain way, this is what you believe in, then that's what you do. Vote for that person. Mm-hmm. Okay? If they don't, then don't. Okay? Vote for something, though. Don't this against this or no, vote for something. Yeah. What are your priorities? What do you want to see? And then who checks the boxes? Yeah. And that's who you vote for. Yep. It shouldn't be any more difficult than that. Yep.
Regardless of how they look or how they sound or whatever. Like, I get it. But vote for something. Definitely. Yep. All right. You got a couple more things on here that we'll try and knock off. Abortion. That's all you sent me was abortion. What is up with abortion? So I don't know where you stand. I don't know how you stand. None of that. So let's get into that.
Well, one thing about abortion is there's still people out there that think abortion was a constitutional right. No. It was not a constitutional right. You've never had the right to have an abortion. The other thing, Roe versus Wade, it did not make abortion illegal. All it did was say, hey, the federal government is not going to rule on abortion. Okay? It's going to the states. Your states are going to determine how abortion looks, whether you can or can't or when and not. Yep. All that stuff. So I don't care. People, stop being stupid. I'm tired of looking at your bumper stickers saying all this crap. It was not your right. Yeah. You do not have a right to kill someone. Right. Plain and simple. Right. All right. And then when it comes to abortion, I love what Kim Reynolds, Ron DeSantis has done with Iowa's abortion law. I like it. And some people are like, well, geez, well, like even like a 6 week, they're like, well, sometimes they don't even know. Well, did you do anything to prevent the pregnancy to begin with? Right. Abortion is not birth control. Right. Killing someone is not birth control. Yeah. All right. What are you doing to prevent it from happening? Yeah. And if you're not willing to take responsibility, and I've had this conversation with my kids, if you're not willing to take responsibility for the outcome of your act, don't do it. Yeah. Okay? Yep. Don't do it.
So you're saying every time a couple people have sex, there's a possibility that the woman gets pregnant?
There's always a possibility.
Okay.
There's always.
I'm glad we agree on that. Because what you're saying is a lot of people are acting like the Supreme Court is getting them pregnant. Right. And that sounds like nonsense.
Listen, if you're going to have sex,
there's a chance.
Okay? That doesn't matter. I don't care if you wrap yourself in saran wrap and all what you do. Yeah. All right? That act, the act is supposed to have one result. Yeah. And the result is a child. Yep. Okay? So it doesn't matter what you do. You can do a ton of things to try to reduce the chance as much as possible, but there's still always that chance. Mm-hmm. And that's what I told the boys. I said, take all the whatever you need to do to prevent it, but still always remember there's that chance. Yeah. And are you willing to take the responsibility? Yeah. Okay. And if you're not, then don't do it.
Don't do it.
Okay. And that's the thing when it comes to abortion. That's why I hear when people say, well, the only thing, and it's a very minute, it rarely happens, is there are some times where the unborn child dies
Yeah.
after 6 months
Yeah.
or 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so technically it's an abortion, but it's not
Nah.
because the baby is already not viable.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
If it's going to endanger the health of the mother, like I already told my wife when she was pregnant with Jonah the first time, I said, if there's a complication, I'm saving you. I just want to let you know, I'm saving you because you have to choose.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, I'm choosing you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot. There's situations that do arise where a choice has to be made.
Yeah.
And that's the only other, that's the only time I could think of why you might have an abortion.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, what if the person's raped? Give them the plan B. Okay. It's kind of abortion, but not because nothing's happened yet.
Okay.
But
I
you're
see
just
what you're saying.
removing the possibility of a pregnancy occurring.
Yeah. You're saying
You know?
the morning after pill
Yeah.
or whatever.
Don't make plan, like a lot of people right now, they're making plan B their plan A. It's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Right? Be responsible. And if you're not willing to be responsible, don't have sex.
Don't do it. Keep it inside a marriage till you're ready then.
And then if to me, like I said, with abortion, there's those rare medical conditions that happen. Sure, there might be a crime, but there's still ways to go about that without
Yeah.
having an abortion. So just do those things.
Yeah.
Because the government should not be telling you what you can and cannot do on some of these things. Okay. Right. The government shouldn't be involved in your life as least as possible. And especially the federal government.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because Iowa, our beliefs are different than the people that live in New York.
Yep.
All right. And that's why we have the states.
Yep.
And that's why they created this great thing that we have. And so when it comes to abortion, I think a lot of it, I'm hoping that maybe, even though I know I've heard you say it too, is you just hear we are who the government is talking to, politicians are talking to. They're not talking to us, but that's who they're talking about is us.
Yeah.
There's nothing fancy about you. There's nothing fancy about me. That's not a put down. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to do what we can do to take care of our family and stuff. And so we want the government out of our lives, and we want to help protect as many lives as we possibly can. And just because you got drunk or you just want to be irresponsible because you just wanted to do this doesn't mean you have the right to take that life.
All right. Right.
No one has a right to take a life.
No, I agree. And that's, for a lot of people, it needs to just boil down to when do you believe life begins? So just do a little bit of medical research for yourself. Find out when life begins. Medically, we can prove that. I mean, it begins at conception. It does. And I'm sorry, you might not be able to detect the heartbeat till 6 or 8 weeks or whatever it is. Like, it still comes down to your actions. If you want to talk about that minute percent of people who were raped, I've read enough testimonies of women who were raped and they had their kids and those kids grow up and they are glad their mom chose life. You'll never get me. That's a horrible situation and you wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Nope.
But there's a way to choose life and God can be glorified in that. Another guest I had sitting here, he said, you got to take a class for anything these days. He goes, because I was promoting a website, liveaction.org, and it's a pro-life website, and they do parody video. They do things to kind of reach the next generation with a pro-life message. The coolest thing they do is man-on-the-street interviews. They'll find people who claim to be pro-choice, more progressive. They could be Christians too, and they're just a little, they're on the pro-choice side. And they find them and they ask them if they'd want to watch, a video of an animated first trimester, second trimester, a D&E abortion or any of the different various types that we have. And they agree to it. And then they watch it and they're moved to tears. It's because you can say, I support women's reproductive rights. But then when you watch what one of those abortions looks like, when you watch that baby move in the womb and struggle because it doesn't want to get sucked into a tube or it doesn't want to, have any chemical injected into its heart to where it basically, dies right there and then it's pulled apart limb from limb. Like, no, people don't support that. When they actually know what it is, when they've educated themselves, they don't support it. And there's plenty of opportunities out there to bless somebody with a child because, you don't feel you're ready to raise it. There's too much good stuff out there that can come from a pregnancy. And I am willing to have those tough conversations. When you start talking about threatening the life of the mother, that's tough.
Yep.
That's very tough. And that's so minute that should, if that's the only time we ever talk about it, let's get to that point first.
That's a huge
let's get to
win.
that. But the other side of the issue has never been willing to even give to talk about rape, incest, or threatening the life of the mother. They say, nope, it's all or none.
Right.
And the overturning of Roe v. Wade just kicked it back down to the states.
Yep.
And it's, so like when you say that, people, they're just a little ignorant on what some of these words mean. Democracy is like the will of the people. We're a constitutional republic with democratic principles.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We get to vote on people. We put them in office, but they still have to follow the Constitution. Kicking abortion laws back down to each state to decide is more democratic.
Yep.
It gives us more of a say rather than 7 judges on a panel in Washington. That, to me, in my opinion, that was absolutely the Roe versus Wade in the beginning was the wrong decision. And we're just at a point where we overturned it. But, just check out live action. Do a little bit of research. Find out, when do you really know what your views are when you think life begins? Planned Parenthood was big on telling women, deceiving women, it's just a clump of cells up until a certain time. And then these women take this pill, the abortion pill, because they don't want to go in and have one. And which is a terrible thing. I mean, it's physically hard on them. It causes all kinds of issues with them later in life. And then they have to pass this baby, very small, but then they're looking at it in the toilet and they're like, what do I like? This isn't a clump of. I can tell it's got a head, it's got arms, it's got legs. It's very small, but it fits in the palm of my hand. Do I flush it? Do I bear it? What do I? It's like Planned Parenthood's evil, man. It's evil, and they're closing up shop in places that got strict abortion laws now. If they really cared about caring for women and women's health, they'd continue providing all these other services, and they really don't, because they know. Like Abby Johnson, former Planned Parenthood director, she left them. She said, no, they're in it for the money. Do some research. Look up Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood. Just educate yourself a little bit, folks. That's all it really takes. And then give yourself an informed, honest opinion on something. Don't just hate Trump because channels 2, 7, and 9 and all the other ones tell you to hate him. What did he do that you hate? Right. You know what I mean? Yep. Yeah, January 6th was awful. But the more and more I see about that, I'm not so sure he was the kingpin of that thing. I see some shady stuff going on with that day.
Or the other insurrections that actually did happen after that nothing happened.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you gotta be careful where you get your news from. Dig, do some stuff. Don't just swallow what they're feeding you, because the majority of people in positions of power. Yeah, in academia, in the media, in entertainment, they're kind of one-sided. So if you agree with that side, then you're right where you need to be. Right. But if you don't, just do a little bit of digging. If you want to talk to me, you can always call me, talk to me. I will tell you my opinions, why I think what I think. I've got sermons saved. I've got research saved. I've got all kinds of things to try and, the Bible says always be ready to give an explanation for the hope that is in you. And obviously it's talking about Jesus, but I want to be able to tell people why I believe what I believe at the drop of a hat. So I'm always ready. All right, last topic for Chad Frost. This has been a good 3 episodes here, and we're going to get to some local town talk here with the direction of the Wapsie Valley School / Leadership School Board Wrestling Program. We've had some stuff come up in the last, year or so? Couple years. So we're going to see how Chad feels about that, what is up with that, and my ignorant opinion on all of it.
Yeah, no, this is something so my kids started wrestling when they're in 1st and 2nd grade. Actually, Lena started in kindergarten, and Jonah started in 2nd grade, and Cooper started when he was in 2nd grade. And in the youth program out at Wapsie, it's always been great. We really put Wapsie on the map in the state of Iowa. I mean, we compete with the best of the best. Like, we go down to AAU State, we'd have so many kids that go down there, and they keep track of team points, and we would be right in there, 1 or 2 for school-based clubs. But the only people that were ahead of us are a couple of the super clubs. We call them super clubs, like Seabolt's one, because they have 3 or 4 different locations across the state.
Okay.
So obviously, those kids have a lot more wrestlers and a little higher level program and stuff. But, we were right there. We were right there with them. I mean, we were pushing almost 100 kids, K through 8th grade.
Yeah, I remember.
Out there wrestling. And a lot of that happened because of Justin and Amber Decker, Rhino Cox, Tori Martin, just to name a handful, Mike Morris over in Reedland and stuff too, that really invested their time and efforts to be part of that. And then, of course, there's the creation then of the Mat Pack, and the Mat Pack was the financial end of stuff. So, before we kind of shut down and stuff, I was the president of the Mat Pack, and our job was to really do fundraising, handle the money, so the coaches could coach, and didn't have to worry about money.
Okay.
And then when they need something, we provide it.
Okay.
And not just the wrestling club, but the wrestling program in the junior high and high school level. Even if there's stuff that the high school needed from other sports, we would be more than happy to help out. And, and we did. We bought a couple assault bikes that are out there right now. We bought some dumbbells and stuff for the weight room. So it wasn't just for wrestling, but it's for all the kids and stuff. And I know before I was actually on the Mat Pack board, there were some youth coaches and some parents and stuff that were moaning and groaning about our current coaching situation on the high school level and stuff. And I kind of ignored it, kind of thought they were full of crap. They didn't know what they were talking about. But then I was like, it kept happening. I kept hearing it. So I was like, well, man, he start paying more attention. And so I started paying more attention. And I was like, okay, I can see what they're saying now. I get it. And it wasn't that the coach was a bad person, because he's not.
Right.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Great teacher. From what I can tell, he's a great husband, great parent to his kids, great dad and stuff, and community member. But being a head wrestling coach just wasn't his thing. That anyone that's involved in wrestling and knows wrestling could tell that.
Okay.
Like I said, it doesn't make him a bad person at all.
Right.
And so the parents, they had gone to the school board and, asked him not to renew his contract and stuff. And the school board always did. And then here a couple of years ago, he ended up resigning from being the head coaching. And so those of us that were looking for a different coach, a coaching change, I should say, we're like, well, here's our opportunity, to really get someone good, And so it was opened up, for, like they always do, for people to apply. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's some of us that reached out to certain people to encourage them to apply. I reached out to and I apologize, their name completely escapes me, but there's these twins that wrestled down, Portillo brothers, wrestled down in Des Moines, and one went to Grandview, the other one went to South Dakota State. Okay. Really good wrestlers, really good guys. And one was just got done to school, and he put out there on Facebook that he was looking for a coaching opportunity. So I reached out to him, and he knew exactly who we were. He knew who Wapsie Valley was right out of the gate, and that impressed me. But he was looking more for a collegiate level coaching job, not a high school coaching job. And so this one gentleman, he showed some interest. He had reached out to, I'm not sure if he reached out to Rhino or Justin or vice versa. I'm not exactly sure. This guy's out of Southwest Iowa. He's a 4-time national champ at Grandview. And he came up, and we got the junior high and high school kids together as many wrestlers and had them put on a camp for a couple of hours. And we paid for his gas money. We gave him, Mat Pack did. And but it was a good way to find out who this guy was.
Yeah, yeah.
And the kids loved him, and he did a great practice, and just it was good. The kid's like 25 years old. Okay, he's done nothing in his life but wrestle. Okay. He was a wrestling coach for a junior college in Kansas City. It was the first year they had the program and stuff, women's program. And anyway, so we'll go forward, and he applies for the job and stuff, and they do a hiring. We didn't know if they're going to do a hiring panel or not, like they did for football, for the head coach football job. They did a hiring panel. They had a few people come together and did the interviews.
Okay.
And we hadn't heard, but we wanted to make sure that there was, because we didn't want just the athletic director or just the high school principal to make this decision.
Okay.
Okay. So they did put a hiring panel together, and of course, the one person, he's like, he's not really supposed to talk about the interviews and stuff, but he's like, well, you had this kid who's never interviewed for a job before. So kind of tough.
No experience.
Of how to answer the questions.
How to do that, yeah.
But he goes, I wasn't allowed to ask further questions. They went to get the answer, they allow him to get a chance to answer because the kid's just inexperienced of interviewing.
Yeah.
And of course, the other person was a little more advanced on interviews and stuff. But what it came down to was not hiring. And let me kind of clarify here real quick. I am not calling for a coaching change right now, okay? I am just telling you what happened.
Okay.
All right? I'm not saying I have an issue with our current coaching staff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what had happened. And the whole point is that we're trying to get the best person in the position for the kids.
Okay.
Okay. We had heard different rumors and stuff during the coaching hiring of football and volleyball. They did hiring panels there, and that not necessarily the best candidates got the job. And I don't know that for sure, okay? Because I wasn't on the hiring panels,
right?
So I have no idea who applied.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what the information that was going around. And so we just wanted to make sure that we got the best person in there for the kids, okay? And I hope that the Wapsie Valley School Board and leadership does that for all their positions, for teaching, coaching, janitor. What's the best for the kids? Okay. And we really fought for that. And, we went to the school board and we talked. No, I had said something, Justin Decker and Rhino and other wrestling parents, spoke and said, hey, well, this is why we're looking for this person. Okay. And of course, the person that we wanted, he had called us a couple of days before the school board meeting. He goes, well, I didn't get the job. They called me and told me that. And they had given they had offered the opportunity to someone else. Okay. And who was an assistant from the previous head coach.
Right. Yep.
And so, and we're kind of like, how did they come upon that? How did they get to that judgment when you have someone that is well more qualified? May not have as many years experience, right? Because the kid's like 25. Plus, the kid was going to move into the community. Yeah. More likely, he probably would stay here, probably end up finding a wife and be part of the community. And what a great thing. And what happened is that the school board was very narrow-minded, and they stayed in their small-town bubble. Okay. And they didn't look at the big picture because we had families that said, you hire the right coach, we're moving. We're coming to Wapsie Valley. They weren't going to open and roll. They were going to move. Okay. We were going to have families coming to our community because, they have one kid or maybe two kids that wrestle, but they got these 3 or 4 other kids that play volleyball and baseball and track, and so it wasn't just about wrestling. It was about making the community better and growing the community because obviously with the school choice, you can switch schools at any time you want. Not to say make you eligible for sports right away, but you have that opportunity and stuff. And so that's what we were looking at. We were looking at what's best for the kids and how can we help the school. Okay. How we can make the community better. And we just got resistance the whole time from the principal, from the athletic director. I mean, the principal, high school principal, hardly even says hi to some people now or won't talk to some people at all.
Because of tension over this?
Because of this. Huh. Because they didn't make the right decision. They were looking at, put it this way, and again, I'm not putting anyone down. I'm just saying, every person that's in a coaching position out of Wapsie is a Wapsie alum. Yeah. Okay, we don't have anybody new from the outside. Yeah. Now, when we talk about legendary coaches at Wapsie, Chris Davis moved here from Atlantic, Iowa. He wasn't from here. Okay. Jerry Southman, I'm not sure where he moved from, but he moved into the community. Okay. Marty McCowan moved into the community. Steve Phelan moved from Council Bluffs. God rest his soul, but he was a great teacher and a great track coach and everything. Roger Francis, who was a good baseball coach and stuff and girls basketball coach back in the day. I don't remember, he's not in the area anymore, but he moved in here from the area and stuff. And it was an opportunity to bring some new families into the community and see what Wapsie Valley is all about. Yeah. And we just got shunned, absolutely shunned. And we didn't back off. Did we say everything politically correct? No. I'm not 100% sure what the athletic director's opinion is of me right now. I don't care. But my opinion of him is I don't think he's doing a very good job.
Okay.
I mean, how do you have a home basketball game like this year? Here's a good example. Home basketball game on a Friday night when we have a high school wrestling tournament on Saturday morning. So that means we can't set up mats until after
the game.
After the game, and the kids are supposed to do it. Yeah. Really getting the high school kids out there to 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night when they're supposed to be back out there at 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to weigh in and wrestle. Mm-hmm. That's just a small example of many things. And let's get the best people in there. Let's get the best. It's about the kids. It's kids first, and then the community second. And when we're at the school board meeting, I specifically looked. I knew there was one school board member that was going to vote for the new guy.
Okay.
His name's Evan, by the way. We knew that he was going to be in favor of him. And because he saw exactly what we saw. We saw a 4-time. Think about this. Let's say your kid's heavily involved in baseball, and there's a coaching position open, and this guy applies who is just part of a team that won the national championship, I don't care at what level, 4 times in a row, and he was basically the Golden Glove winner 3 out of those years. Mm-hmm. You're like, we need that guy to be our coach.
Yeah.
Right? And pick any other sport. Pick basketball even. So you got a guy that was part of maybe a Big Ten championship team and for a couple of years and went to the Final Four and stuff like that. And now he wants to come coach at Wapsie Valley. You hire him. Right? That's what this guy was equivalent to.
Okay.
All right. There's only been 7 people that have been 4-time national champs in junior college. I think 7.
Yeah.
Not very many.
That's wild.
Right. Man. So we had a rarity. We had a really opportunity. And a lot of it came down to like the hiring panel said, well, he said he could handle the youth program and stuff too. And top of that, it was like, there's no way. The guy had nothing else in his life. He knows wrestling. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's just some few fluke things in there. Like one of the questions, well, what are you going to do for work? Or the school board had said something. Well, what's he going to do for work? That's not you don't have to be responsible for that. That's up to him.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah.
Let's just put the best person in the job. And then I asked the school board representative for my area, because I live in Fayette County. Okay. So I don't have the same school board member that represents me as like you do for living in town.
Yeah, the county line runs through town. Yeah.
And I'm like, and I specifically said, you represent me. You're my voice here on the school board and the other people in our area. And I know all the people that she represents, there might have been one family that disagreed with what I was saying.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure if they probably didn't even say anything at all. But she didn't vote that way. She didn't properly represent me. She didn't properly represent the other people that live in Fayette County that were wanting something different. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is just a small school wrestling program that we're talking about, right? And what else are they doing that's not representing the people? Okay,
yeah.
What other decisions are they making? And how can you not be an adult and have a conversation and saying, hey, listen, the reason why we didn't choose the person that you wanted is because of this.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, I'm just not going to talk to this person ever. I'm going to avoid him whenever I possibly can. Because you're a coward.
Yeah.
You're a flat-out coward. And yes, you heard me correctly. For anyone who might listen to this, and it might get back to certain people, you're cowards. You didn't want to do what was the right thing. You want to do what was easy. And if you just want to do things that are easy, don't be in leadership. Get out of it. Leadership is supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be difficult because you have to make decisions that are right, not because that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's what does everyone else want? So what ended up happening is that we as a Map Pack, we were going to build a really nice wrestling facility.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
We bought some ground and we got it rezoned. We did everything we needed to do. And we were going to build this. And we had fun. We had people sitting on the sidelines ready to start writing checks until the hiring happened. Because we know this person isn't in it for the long term. They knew the current head coach is not in it for the long term. I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. But the writing's on the wall that, when his youngest son is done wrestling, he'll probably be done coaching. Okay. Maybe not that exact year, but shortly after that.
Okay.
And so people weren't willing to invest the money, that kind of money, if there wasn't going to be this person that's going to run this long term. Okay. And so we ended up not doing that. We were looking at building a wrestling facility onto the current school, but, just get plans drawn, and in order to take bids, it's going to cost $50,000.
Yeah. Right.
And we're not like there's other nonprofits that help out the school. They did that to the school, and we were not going to do that. Okay. And the other thing is that other group, they didn't support us. We support them all the time.
Yeah.
And then they didn't help support us. In fact, I remember at that school board meeting when all the parents, we were talking and stuff, and these other members were just like golfing at these parents. Like, oh, they can't, it's like, we're trying to help the kids. We're not trying to help our kids. We're trying to help all the kids. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's the result of that? I think there's maybe 30 kids out for wrestling right now, K through 8th grade. There were 7 kids in 7th and 8th grade wrestling this year. 7. That was it. And I think there's 30 K through 6. I could be wrong. Apologize if I am, but I think that's what it is. And so we went from 100 down to probably about 35 or 40 in a matter of 2 years. And because of that, because the school didn't feel that we had any value. They did not value us as parents, as leaders of a group, as youth coaches. They didn't value us. They scoffed at us and said that you have no value.
Yeah.
Is what it came down to. And that upset us.
Yeah.
It's a lot of us. So we have all this money, okay, that people donated. And for those of you listening, wondering what we're doing with it, we're still taking care of the kids that are in high school right now. Okay. Like we just paid for, the kids went to a team camp at Wartburg in July.
Yep.
We paid for that.
Okay.
Okay. And if the kids need something, we pay for it. Like the senior, we always give pretty nice gifts to the seniors. Map Pack, we pay for that. And we're going to continue to do that. We gave money to the kids that qualified for state last year for spending money because that's a huge thing. We want them to enjoy the experience. Mm-hmm. So Map Pack, we gave them some money to do that, to enjoy that stuff. So we're still, for those of you that donated, we're still using money for the kids. Okay. And we're spending it on the kids. We're not doing it for one kid or 2 kids. It's all of them. All right. They're all getting the benefit of it and trying to help them with the best experience. But when you're part of a small community that's supposed to take care of each other and watch out for each other's back, and you blatantly just say, we have no value. That's what they said. You have no value to the Wapsie Valley community, is what they told all of us that busted our butts and dedicated our time. Did we do everything right? No. We made mistakes along the way.
Yeah. But
we did what we thought was best for the kids. And you ask some of these kids that are in high school right now, or the ones that just graduated, hey, how much fun did you have going down to Centerville? We went to that camp down there, and we camped out at a campground and had just a blast. I mean, dads built better relationships with other dads.
Yeah.
Kids built better relationships with the other kids. I mean, that was something that we did and that the Mat Pack paid for. Kids got to go to this great camp, have this great experience, and it cost the parents a dime. We had parents that are involved. They wanted their kids to be involved in wrestling, but they couldn't pay for they didn't have the money to pay for the due, which was like $100.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Get the kid out there. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We have families that are out there that are willing to help you. You get your kid out there and be part of something.
Yeah, that's a community right there.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And
so some people say, well, why'd you walk away? It's like, we got they broke us. Okay? It's unfortunate. And the people that were involved, I feel we're pretty strong-minded, and we have a lot of will behind us.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just gotta live to fight another day.
Yeah. And
sometimes you just gotta live by your own decisions before you realize it. And I think they're having to see it, because the booster club's hurting. Well, I'm not saying hurting, but they're not getting the money that we used to raise. We used to have about 3 events, youth events out the school, and it would generate $4,000 or $5,000 each event in concessions for the booster club. And the booster club didn't even have to get volunteers to run it. We provided the volunteers, and you got all the money.
Yeah.
Right? How's that happen?
That's a good deal there.
And then, and that turns and helps. That helps the other programs and stuff. And stuff too. Yep. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the kids. Okay, but you can't throw these people that are trying to help the kids under the bus and run right over them because you don't like them.
Yeah.
You don't like them. That's what it came down to, is that out of the school board members, one just doesn't have a spine. The other one has a fake spine. The other 2 are just, they hated us.
Okay.
They hated us. The athletic director hated us. And I heard that from his own mouth, because he said it to me and to my wife, to our faces, that he hated the wrestling club and the Mat Pack. Okay. And that's what's sad. And that's what people need to know about the situation, what happened. They think that we're the bad guys, that we're trying to get someone fired and stuff. We're like, no, we're just trying to get a crappy coach to stop being a crappy coach and get a good coach in. Mm-hmm. Because this is important for some of these kids.
Yeah.
High school sports is about these kids learning these experiences, being able to win, being able to lose, being able to interact with teammates and support each other and receive coaching to be better, because you're going to need that stuff. I mean, I can tell you one thing. Do you know how many times I've worked with people that our personalities collide? Because my personality kind of collides with a lot.
Yeah.
But we were still able to do what we needed to do.
Yep.
And we had a job. We didn't get in trouble and anything. And that's what high school sports is supposed to do. Yeah, you want to win. It's a whole lot more fun when you win.
Yeah.
Right? It's a whole lot. You ever never gone down to state wrestling? It is a blast to go down to state wrestling. Not just to watch the wrestling, but then when the families, we all get together in the hotel room.
Yeah, I've seen videos.
And just, playing games, having a few drinks, and eating and sharing, and just it's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And that's what it was all about. And when we got, like I said, they basically said we had no value in the community at Wapsie Valley. That's basically what happened. And just a little off topic, but I was downtown one night, my wife and I, and we were at Outer Banks, and a person had come in. We were with some friends and stuff, and a person had come in and said that was kind of chit-chatting and stuff, and our friend's daughter was in there, and she had said something about a situation that happened during wrestling season. She was a manager, and I guess she kind of got a little upset with one of the wrestlers and stuff, and kind of told him off, and it was justified, no big deal. And but that person, the mother that came in, she's a mother. She goes, "You told this person off who's a 16-year-old kid? That is awesome. I wish I was there. I wish I could tell that kid off," and stuff like that. I'm like, you're 45 years old. He's a 16-year-old kid. And the reason you feel that way is because you hate his dad. You don't like his dad. And then, geez, who are your best friends? Oh, yeah, two of the people that are on the school board. So what do they do when they get together, and who they moan and groan about? Because when we get together with friends, everyone moans and groans about someone or something.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to make sure I got an opportunity to share with everyone in the community is I just want our school board to be looking for the kids.
Sure.
The kids first.
Yeah.
And then what can we do to grow the community? All right, small schools aren't going to last forever.
Yeah.
So you got to be doing something and seeing the bigger picture of what can we do to help maintain this.
Yeah.
And, and then these other groups like the Athletic Boosters, for example, you can't put the school on the hook for a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we gave $100,000 last year to the school. Well, you should have, because the school gave you $500,000 to build your concession stand. Right?
Yeah.
So, it's that type of stuff that it needs to be out there. See, and the school had to do it because they already put out $55,000. So they had to put out the other to get it built.
To get it done.
And, it's just unfortunate. What could they have done with that money? I tell you one thing, the high school probably would have had all air conditioning by then.
Oh.
Right? I'm guessing. Could they give maybe some teachers maybe a little bonus pay? If you're going to spend $500,000 and you don't see any revenue back from it at all, what else could you have done with that?
Yeah.
And it really angers me, because the one person that I said that that has no spine, I don't know. He was just like, I'm like, are you kidding me? It just drives me nuts. And you're just like, well, why wouldn't you? Why? And, but anyway, I'm going to really go off on a tangent here and make zero sense. But, everyone, I would encourage you to go out to a school board meeting a couple times a year.
Yeah.
I don't care when.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I went out one time, and it was to talk about wrestling, and it was a no point, but I was like, I'm going out there anyway. And I'm glad I did, because they were talking about having a different photographer for school pictures. And every one of those people talk about buying local. What, now you want to kick out the local person and go with somebody else?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So, I encourage everyone to go out and just kind of see what's going on.
Know what's going on by going to them.
Yeah. You're not going to learn a lot because they don't talk about a whole lot. But, I actually listened to the school board one time talk about debating over spending a few $100 over this Leadership in Me. And they had some teachers that had experience with it and stuff too, and they thought it was really good. And they were debating like crazy on that, but they had no problem dropping, was it like 10 or 15 grand on some speed bumps? Oh yeah, those speed bumps were like $4,500 a piece. And it's like you didn't debate on that whatsoever, but spend a few $100 on the kids, that was a problem. Mm-hmm. Really? And so, like I said, I just encourage everyone that if you have questions about this, you want to know more about it, go ahead and email Bubba, and Bubba will get it to me.
Yes.
And I'll be more than happy to fill you in, or I'll direct you to one of the other people that were involved, and they'll be more than happy to fill you in. And any of those that were involved in the decision-making of the coaching a couple of years ago, whether you're a school board member, school staff, or whatever, you know who you are. And I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at you. I don't hate you.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I don't hate you. I don't hate anyone. Hate a different level of evil.
Yeah.
And, but I'm very disappointed. I just want you to step up and be an adult and look out for the kids. Put the kids first all the time. Take your ego, stick it in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. All right. And look out for the kids. All right. Putting people that are not in not putting the best people in these leadership positions. That's not looking out for the kids. Look out for the kids. Give them a great experience. You're in high school once.
Yeah.
Okay. And just because you might be reliving your high school days because now you're out there, okay, that's not right.
Yeah.
You have the wrong mindset. So, I want you to do what's right.
Okay.
And that's what we're That's what I'm demanding, and I'm not even asking for it. I'm demanding it.
Yeah.
And I want everyone else. Everyone else should be doing the same thing. I mean, it's your kids.
Okay. So I'm no expert on the situation at all, but when you start talking about like our people that are elected to represent us, I got a buddy in Dunkerton who's on the city council, best mechanic around, Roquette's Performance. He's done everything for my car that could make that tiny little car halfway quick. So he ran for city council and he won, and we've had discussions and stuff, and he said, you know, dealing with the community when stuff comes up, he's like, you guys tell me what you want. Like, I'm here for you. I'll vote how you want. And I kind of looked at it like, I'm not sure if I ever ran for anything, I would let people know who I am,
Yep.
what I value. But then when it comes time to make decisions, I'm not sure. I would listen to their feedback.
Sure.
But I guess the decisions, I still would say, I wouldn't just say, you know, the more people I hear from that want this, this is be the way I go. I would still, I mean, I guess there's certain issues you'd probably have to do that because that's the will of the people, I guess. But
Right.
to a certain degree, I was like, dude, at some point, like, I would make my own decision. Like, they elected me, they know who I was. So
Right.
it just, I guess it would depend on the situation. So I can understand frustration there on that part. And like, the other thing is, I didn't know, I thought there was more passing of the torch in the coaching ranks at Wapsie than there was. So you're basically telling me like Foster's are the only ones that kind of passed the torch, and even Dwayne had to go in front of that
hiring
board
panel.
or whatever
Yep.
panel. Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I kind of thought, I just assumed Southmaid had roots here, passed it to Tony,
Yeah, and I
down to Dwayne, but
that I don't know. Like from South
Okay.
Mid to Tony, I don't know. Even from like Chris Davis down to whoever in wrestling, I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
But I just tell you how
Okay.
recently what yeah.
so really, and I'm completely ignorant. I'm not the wrestling dad. I'm just JJ's just getting back into it. You're more frustrated with just, I mean, obviously you wanted the other guy.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
In those early days of the Matt Pack and the youth stuff, when JJ was in it back in the day when Jonah was little and Landon was even littler, like I still remember Crawl being in the ground roots. So your main thing is just like, this other guy would have been coming in from the outside bringing more, and you're not sure the current coach is going to be in it for as long as he would have been, kind of thing.
Yep.
And then, so, just having talked with some people, it's kind of like he's paid his dues kind of thing as like he's been in from the beginning with you guys, and it came up for his time. You wanted the other guy, but does that mean, and like you said, you don't dislike it. You want the program to be as successful as possible. You made it very clear. I think you handled it really, really well. You're frustrated with the whole situation and all that stuff, but like you want them to produce state champions. You want the best for them.
Yep.
You handled it really well. So even if, let's say the club just goes lights out the next few years and kids win and all that stuff, does that help the situation, or you'll still have some frustration?
One of the things I said after Crawl was hired and announced is I said, best thing that could happen is that I was wrong.
Yeah, okay.
And the other people said the same thing. The best thing that could happen is that I was wrong. I was on the wrong side of it. That is the best thing that can happen out of this whole situation. And those of us that were, like I said, we weren't anti-Crawl the person.
Yep, you made that clear.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
We were just in favor of Evan.
The new coach.
And when that's what we said, we're like, hope we're wrong.
Yeah.
We do. We hope we are wrong. And we hope Crawl, we're like, holy crap, he stepped up and, we were wrong.
Yep.
And that hasn't happened, but it doesn't mean it won't.
Right.
And we don't have that big of an ego problem where we don't have a problem saying we were wrong. I know that. I know the other guys and gals. They would have no problem saying we were wrong.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years. We're not wrong. So far, we're not wrong.
Okay.
Like I said, doesn't matter. Doesn't mean it can't change. But the best thing that could happen too is that I hope that youth program just takes off. I hope it does.
Yeah, I remember it back in those days, man, when our boys were young. Like, guys at work, like I told you, the wrestling guys, the Don Bosco guys, they said, you guys come to a tournament and you just, like, your group takes over the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just a ton of kids. And not that JJ didn't know anything. I mean, that's why he stopped after a few years. About the time Rhino was starting to split it up and have that black and gold group where you could have the more in it, like, if JJ would have stuck it out for that, started in that in preschool, he probably would have been great. But when it came time to get serious, it's like, no, JJ's just there to wrestle with his kids, with his buddies.
And that was a great problem that we had to do that because we had so many kids. We had to break it up to have 2 different practice times.
Oh, that room was just packed.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, and so I do. I'm only going to be involved in this for a few more years.
Right.
Next year's going to be a really fun year, having 3 kids in high school. All 3 of them are going to be wrestling, potentially. I don't know if all 3 will be on the varsity lineup. It doesn't matter, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And then, after that, it's going to be each year going to be a little further away from it, a little further away from it, a little further away from it. And that was something that we did not want to have happen with the Mat Pack. We didn't want parents to move away from the sport just because your kids graduated. We wanted you to stay involved.
Stay in, keep the
We
roots.
wanted you to keep coming to the duels and watching. We wanted you to come down to state wrestling and still participate in the gathering of everybody, and talk about the day and have some fun together. We wanted that to continue, and we were pushing for that. I mean, we would invite alumni, say, hey, we want you to come up and do this and watch this. And
so here's one more thought then, and hopefully I ain't poking the bear with it. I can see the vision for everything. You're talking close knit. I can see what the Mat Pack and the wrestling community. I can see how that all works together and benefits the school, benefits the community, all that stuff. And I remember hearing about the plans. What was that going to be, northwest of the school in that little plot of land? Okay, so I remember hearing about that. Like, how do I want to say it? Like, isn't it like, even though things didn't go the way you guys and some of the other families wanted the coaching hire to go, do you kind of wish people didn't like take their ball and go do something else, like and continued the plans for just so we didn't get our guy? Do you wish it kind of still proceeded and everyone, you know what I mean? People didn't get their feelings hurt and take their checkbooks and go and kind of thing like that.
And the thing is that nobody stepped up. We needed a group of people to step up and say, hey, we're going to run this deal. No one has. And is it tough? It is tough. Do you have to dedicate some time? Not a ton, but there is some dedication there.
Yeah.
You're going to spend time away from your family. You can ask my wife, how many times I'd be working all day and I come home and I have to run out, do a Mat Pack meeting, and then I want to go home till 9 o'clock at night.
Yep,
or,
I remember hearing about
having to go set up all day, and then wrestle all day and the next day, or be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and not leaving until 6, 7 o'clock at night, and on a Saturday and a Sunday. And, there's a lot of work involved. And I don't think I did that much compared to some others that I can't imagine the time of hours they put into it, because they did. They dedicated their lives to it. And because that's what they wanted to do. And everybody right now, they want it done for them. And so we're not going to do it for you. And the reason we're not going to do it for you is because we have no value, because we were told that. So when you don't have any value, even though you feel like you do, but when they say you don't have any value, why are we going to do anything for you?
Yeah.
Why should we? The reason that we were going to build that building where we were is because look how many times that they cancel school because of weather, and then by 1 o'clock in the afternoon it's fine.
It's clear.
Well, guess what? We still can't have practice at the school that night. But if it's not
you
school,
could at that facility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we could. And and practice time is critical because you only get so much of it.
Yep.
And you got to fit those windows in when you could. And we were looking at. We had other plans that were just in the very beginning of works, to where we were really. I think we were on the cusp of something really great to really help our community, not just within wrestling, but just the community and all.
Yeah.
To really generate maybe some funding and more people in the community, because you recognize community, you recognize the school more people are going to they want to be part of that.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, and that's how we had some families that are like, hey, gosh, we want to come to Lobster Valley, well, that's how Blinsky's came to Fairbank.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that name.
Yeah.
First time I heard it this year, I was like, where's he from?
Caden, they lived up by Strawberry Point and stuff, and I don't know. He started coming into our club. I don't remember what grade he was in, 4th grade or something, 5th grade, and and then his mom's got a job. I think she got a job down in Deer. Is what helped him push this way. Or she transferred. Excuse me. She was working in Dubuque, and then she transferred to Waterloo, and they moved out this way. And
Wow.
look what we did. We picked up 4 kids for the school.
Yeah.
One of them's a wrestler. The other 3 are girls.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. And we had other families that were willing to do the same thing. And but if people are gonna uproot their family to move to a different community, they have to know that they're gonna get out of that community what they're hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course you still got to put effort in to get something out.
Sure.
But that didn't occur. I think this hurt the school and hurt the community more than it helped.
Okay.
And some of that was our doing because of what we said and what we did. And we knew that. We had talked about that. We're like, this could really go south. This could hurt the school more than help.
Most people wouldn't be man enough to admit that.
We had talked about that, and we knew that, and we were willing to put our reputations out there and saying, but it's the right thing. And if we lose friends, they weren't really our friends. And if people won't, and my opinion, if someone doesn't want to talk to me, that's a loss on them. That's not a loss on me. All right. I could care less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a very small circle, and
Yeah.
I keep that circle small for a reason.
Yeah.
Because those people know who I am. They know how I talk. They know how I speak. They know I have some moral value. I have character. If I'm your friend, man, I will die for you.
Go to bat for you. Yeah.
Okay. Whether you're right or not. Because if you're not, and I went to bat for you and I find out you're not, well, then I'm going to whoop your butt. But, but we're willing to do that.
Yeah.
And right now we got a wrestling family right now that's been part of this school for decades.
Yep.
That are currently not participating,
Yeah.
and it's tough. And it's just because they got anger. I'm not angry so much as I used to be. But I'm tired of hearing different things back and forth, especially when they see me and they know I was part of it, or maybe they're not talking about me. They might be talking about someone else that was involved. And I'm just like, you don't even know the whole story.
Right.
You were told what the principal told you, or what the AD told you, or what someone on the school board told you. You didn't get the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just like what happens today and everything else. The media just tells you what they want to tell you.
Yeah, there's always another side.
They don't want to tell you the whole story.
Sure.
And we're willing to tell the whole story, and we're willing to say if we're right. We're willing to say we're wrong. And, that was the risk, and we were willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I think you did a good job explaining it. There was stuff, I growing up in small towns, I know don't believe everything you hear ever,
Right.
Because it's just not the whole story, and it probably what might not be true. But I think you did a good job of kind of stating your side of the issue and you guys and your current intentions and no ill will and all. I mean, I think you did really good. And yeah, if anybody out there didn't know this side of the issue, that Chad just laid it out for you. If you do want to know more or whatever, yeah, absolutely email me and I'll get you in touch with him. You don't want to put yourself out there like that.
yeah, I was going to just throw my phone number out there.
If you got a serious question or want to know more, like I did, I was glad he wanted to talk about that so I could kind of hear the whole story, because obviously I want the program to be successful. I want Crawl to be successful. It doesn't matter if I would have given 100% of my support to Crawl and you for the other guy. It doesn't mean we couldn't sit here and you couldn't tell me why you wanted that guy.
That's right.
And so that just kind of proves that point. So hopefully over time, man, that tension, I get things will probably never go the way they were headed. But over time, maybe some of this tension, there doesn't need to be tension.
No.
I don't think. I think everyone still has the best interest of the kids in mind and the program and the school.
Yep.
It just didn't work out that way. So let's
and
start
and
heading.
that tension goes away with a conversation.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
communication.
you got to be willing to go have a conversation. And unfortunately, there's a couple that are not willing to have the conversation.
Yeah. So whoever that is out there, like, just, you can do that. You can actually do that. You can get over things and bury the hatchet and talk with people. That's what I always tell my kids, like, they've had issues with kids at school or whatever. Like, I've had to go to parents' houses just to show my kids, just go handle it. Just go talk to them face to face. Don't let the school handle it. Things like, dude, I'll go talk to their dad. You talk to that kid and we'll figure this out.
Right.
And you're so much better for it.
Yep.
You don't let it fester, because all that's going to do is just bitterness is just it's going to get worse and worse. So
absolutely,
there's a right way to handle that. So
absolutely.
Well, dude, I want to thank you. It's been a long day. This is episode 3 with Chad, but if you guys know the magic of podcasting, we did this all in one day on New Year's Eve. We're about to ring in 2024. So, I'm sure people are going to enjoy these 3 episodes, dude, whether it was your story or the fun we had in the second episode or this serious talk about we covered some pretty good subjects on the What Is Up segment. That was really good. I'm sure people will be encouraged by it. And that's my goal, by letting people share their stories and opinions and then go deeper. Yeah. So I want to ask the audience, have you been looking around at things in our world lately and kind of asking, what is up with that? Like some of those things Chad said, what is up with people tinting their windows? I know I have. That's why I started this thing. And one of the more recent things that's been bothering me is I saw a newly elected school board member in Virginia named Carl Frisch. He was sworn into this position. He was sworn in by his husband, holding a stack of controversial books that have been banned in multiple districts. That doesn't mean they're burned and you can no longer get it. That means they're not in public school libraries for kids. Books like Flamer and Gender Queer. Look them up. Find out what kind of pornographic content is in there and how it shouldn't be in any of our school libraries. But this guy was sworn into this position on those books by his husband, and he's from California. He doesn't have roots in Virginia, and he doesn't even have kids. So why is he in this position? Why does he aspire to be in a leadership position over kids with those kind of views? What is up with that? And I understand, I get it, just like Chad. Like, not everyone thinks the way we think. We have different worldviews, Not everyone has the biblical foundation and worldview like we have. And I can't expect everyone to just accept my beliefs, but that's going too far. I mean, look up those books. Ask yourself, why is he doing that? Why do we want to promote that kind of material as something that's good for our kids? If you look at it and you think it's good, you're on your own. I don't agree. But if you're an adult, it's your life, and you're free to do whatever, almost anything you want. But kids, while they're still kids, they're our responsibility to raise them, to protect them from things that'll harm them, or even things that'll confuse them. And I see a lot of that going on today. And based on the people whose stories I've heard, this kind of material does not help these kids. It hurts them. It confuses them. It leads them to a false reality that they can be whatever gender they feel they want to be. Maybe just starting by presenting as somebody different or some different gender, and then asking everyone around them to kind of give into that and support this false reality. But then it leads to more serious stuff, like the horror of stopping their natural puberty with chemicals that we give to sex offenders in prison. Why would we do that? What is up with that? And then offering experimental plastic surgeries to healthy kids who have healthy body parts, and these surgeries would remove those body parts, causing all kinds of mental and physical problems for life. And then when they get old enough, they get older, they wonder, they regret this. Like, where were the adults who were supposed to protect me? Go listen to their stories. If you don't think this stuff happens, go listen to Laura Perry, Walt Heyer, Chloe Cole, Scott Nugent from the What Is a Woman documentary. Make no mistake, God loves kids. Jesus in Matthew 19:14 said, "Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Kids are innocent while they're at that young age. So much that Jesus says we adults should be just like them in heart. In Matthew chapter 18, verse 3, he says, "Truly I say to you, unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever then humbles himself as this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And he whoever receives one such child in my name receives me." But you see, if you read just one more verse, Matthew 18:6, you'll see how Jesus feels and what's in store for these kinds of people who are not protecting kids, but they're harming them by leading them into this false reality where there must have been a mistake because their sex doesn't match how they feel. All right, let's just be honest. They're kids. They get confused. Help them. Don't lead them into further confusion. Don't sterilize them. Don't perform experimental plastic surgeries that render their new parts that they have useless. They don't even work and forever dependent on the medical industry. Read Matthew 18:6 and see if that doesn't steer you away from that. It says, "But whoever causes one of these little ones that believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a heavy millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." I don't know about you, but drowning is at the top of my list of ways I do not want to die. And Jesus is saying, you guys who are harming these kids, unless you repent and turn from it and start protecting them, you're going to wish you could drown instead of face what you got coming. It's never too late to get on the right side of things. You know, that's why I love reading and listening to these testimonies of doctors and people who supported this stuff, and now they're activists against it because they realize they were doing wrong. It's not right. It's not helping them. It's hurting them. And then the stories of the detransitioners themselves, which tell you they didn't find any satisfaction or fulfillment or joy in their new reality like they were promised by these adults. Okay, but they go on to find that detransitioning isn't actually possible either. They can never go back. And now they're on the front lines trying to protect others from the same. You know, the same thing happens in the abortion industry. Me and Chad were talking about abortion. God brings truth to abortion doctors all the time, or directors of Planned Parenthood, people like Abby Johnson, Dr. Haywood Robinson, who are now leading the charge of protecting kids in the womb. Okay, I don't know where you're at on all these issues and all this stuff we talked about today, but if you feel like you might be on the wrong side, I want you to look up. Look to God and His Word for guidance. He'll show you truth in a crazy world that we live in. Chances are, if your opinion or views line up with the majority of popular culture today, you may want to think about changing it. You may want to see what God has to say about it. And if you want to know more, you want to go deeper, if you got questions, reach out to me, like I've said before. whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. I'll share the Word of God with you. I'll share some truth with you. If you want to hear more truth, you're welcome to join me at my church on Sundays right there in Dunkerton, First Baptist Church. Sundays, 9 a.m. Sunday school, 10 o'clock worship. It's also streamed on Facebook. I got a lot of people in the area that just like to tune into the live stream, so you can do that. But nothing replaces just getting together with believers on Sunday for worship. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Chad Frost. Don't forget to share it wherever you listen, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give it a 5-star review. Check out our Facebook and our Instagram for more info, videos, giveaways. I know we got a giveaway coming up real soon. I think we got some Chosen merch we're going to get rid of. And Chad Frost is leaving here with a genuine, limited edition, first run, What Is Up podcast t-shirt. So if you see him wearing that around, no, that's a trophy. That's a trophy for coming on this show. All right. Leave comments if you're listening on YouTube or wherever. Send me emails. Be sure to answer the Q&A and the poll questions that I put at the end of the episode on Spotify. Let's grow this audience and see what God can do with it. Lord willing, I'll see you on the next one.